that was the opener, Inter Miami, Real Madrid, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I think this is just a massive miscalculation by FIFA. Misplayed their hand here. I agree 100% with what Lizzie's saying. Why would you pay top dollar to go watch them play against an African team where you know 0 players there when you get to see Messi in that same city or around that same city a few miles out for cheaper and every 3 days to a week? It makes no sense. I'm hoping for their case, or in their case, that it's just this home opener. But the reality is, I work in this field, you work in this field. I don't know how much buzz has been created around this tournament. Now, teams will care because Florentino Perez of Real Madrid has said, yeah, Real Madrid's going to care because there's a $130 million purse tied to it. So the money's going to make the teams care. The money's going to make the players care. What's going to make fans care? Because fans see this right now as a cash grab. Fans see this right now as another option on their already congested summer schedule. And quite frankly, some fans today are hurting. If you're going to take a family of 4 out to any type of event, it usually costs a lot of money. What makes you want to go to this event? What makes you want to participate and shell out your hard-earned money? I'm hoping this is a miscalculation by FIFA here.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, Inter Miami, those fans are very much used to seeing Messi, which is such a luxury for them to say, but that's truly the reality. You were talking about how Inter Miami is taking this very seriously. Yeah. And what we've had, obviously, these conversations in the past few weeks is that Javier Mascherano, Sergio Busquets, Luis Suarez, like you said, have been begging, have been screaming for help for this Club World Cup. So the Inter Miami fans watching right now, Lizzie, do you have any good news about potential signings for this Club World Cup? No pressure.
Yes and no. So sources told ESPN that Inter Miami expressed interest in signing Club America winger Brian Rodriguez. Now, the player has gone on record to say the interest is real and that it weighs heavily on him the opportunity to play with Lionel Messi, with Luis Suarez, but that there's also interest from Spain. So that he's going to be having these conversations with Uruguayan national team head coach Marcelo Bielsa on what his future could be with the national team, depending on what club he plays for heading into the World Cup. Now, beyond Rodriguez, Javier Mascherano gave Inter Miami a list of positions where he wants depth heading into this Club World Cup. There's a lot of injuries on the roster, a lot of struggles, both defensively and in the midfield. So the team wants reinforcements. But Mascherano did mention the bureaucracy of it all, the paperwork of it all, and there's such little time. I mean, yes, FIFA opened a special transfer window June 1st to June 10th. Unfortunately, during an international window where it makes dealing with players and negotiating with players and their teams an extra level of difficult. So between that and the paperwork, he himself said it'll be very difficult to bring on players, unfortunately.
We put you in the spot? Like on a scale 1 to 10, what do you think's the likelihood of them getting a big signing in?
I'm going to go with 6, okay. But it's not for lack of trying. And I think that's something Inter Miami fans should know, that this team is trying to improve. This team is trying to get better. Jorge Mas has spent a lot of money and has vowed to keep spending money within, obviously, MLS regulations to keep this team at the top level. But there are things that aren't extremely up to them.
I'll say this without, trying to take a knock here on Inter Miami, but they've cheated. That's how much they've been trying to make this team better in the past. They've actually cheated to do that. So this is a team that constantly pushes the envelope. Jorge Mas constantly wants to spend money to make this team better. David Beckham, they want, to loosen those purse strings to make this team better. In theory, this tournament sounds good on paper. Mm-hmm. A Club World Cup. What the Champions League is to Europe, we're going to be even more to the world. South America, North America, Asia, Europe, the world's elite, the best. Boca, River, all these different teams. Inter Miami, Seattle Sounders, PSG, Real Madrid. It sounds good in theory. The 10-day transfer window with reinforcements, a special window, so fans can say, wait a second, you're telling me Cristiano Ronaldo can go and play here? You're telling me this could happen here? Could I see Lamine Yamal play somewhere in this tournament? That sounds interesting. In theory, it all sounds good. But when you put this transfer window over international competition, on an already congested schedule.
It's a crazy short window, too.
It is, yeah.
And with the paperwork and the red tape around, in theory, this sounds good. But we're seeing how difficult this can be. So what type of reinforcements, not just for Inter Miami, but are we realistically going to see here? I had this grand, vision of Real Madrid could be able to attract the best players in the world for this special transfer window. That doesn't look like it's happening. If Miami can't do it, if what we're seeing down in Liga MX is interleague transfer of players who don't really, strike the fancy or make you say, oh, that's interesting, then what are we doing here? So in theory, this tournament looks good. It's just being terribly executed.
Yeah, paper doesn't always translate to the field, and we've seen that time and again. Speaking of trying to make a good translation from paper to field, the CONCACAF teams that will be participating in the Club World Cup, I want a quick answer from all of you. I will even answer at the end, but I think Herc already knows my answer. What CONCACAF team is going to make the deepest run, do you think, Cesar?
They're a mess right now. They have a new manager. But I'm going to stick with Pachuca. I think that they had a recent experience. I saw Herc smile right there. They had that recent experience against Real Madrid.
It's a good one.
Last December in the former Club World Cup, now Intercontinental Cup. They defeated the Libertadores winners, the African Champions League winners. Jimmy Lozano, I think he's been seen as somewhat of a firefighter. He did that with Mexico back in the day. Maybe he can do that now. I think Elias Montiel could be one of the breakout players of the tournament. I don't know how far any of these CONCACAF teams are really going to go. I don't have that many high hopes. But I'm going to stick with Pachuca here.
Okay. Herc?
I think we're asking ourselves which Smurf will be the tallest.
Better way to put it. Tallest Smurf here.
Pachuca would have been my choice if Guillermo Almada was still the coach.
Yeah.
And I'm 100% with you, but I think that's because of the system they deploy. I think that's how long he's had this team and how he had them, playing against better opposition and punching above their weight. I would have said Pachuca. With Jimmy Lozano, G. Lozano seems like a great guy, seems like a decent coach, but he didn't do well at Querétaro, didn't do well in Necaxa. He did well at a U23 level in the Olympics during the COVID era, didn't do well with the Mexican national team. I think this is going to be very difficult for his first task to do well in the Club World Cup. I think they'll all have the same fate. And actually, if I take a flyer, I think I'll take LAFC.
Okay. Interesting. Lizzie?
Monterrey or Inter Miami.
Oh, let's just say Monterrey.
So Rayados are just going to resolve all their problems.
We're not. Yeah. So is Pachuca.
That's true.
I have this feeling that everybody wants to see Inter Miami do well and Messi do well. Mm-hmm. I have this feeling that won't be the case. And I understand why Mascherano is saying, hey, don't disrespect the Egyptian team, Al Ahly. They're Egyptian. Seattle Sounders lost in the Club World Cup a few years back. They are African giants. They are well-oiled machine. I have a feeling that very first game, there's a possibility of being embarrassed if they don't take this seriously, if they're not on their best day.
Yeah, you've used the words embarrassed and humiliated in this Club World Cup in general.
That's my worry for them.
Yeah, and what do you do?
The world watching.
The umbrella?
Well, I'm not an Inter Miami fan.
We're not even seeing Inter Miami.
I just don't want to see